Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to work on similarities and congruents. This is Unit 1 review for 8th grade math. Let's get started. Today we're going to talk about how we can distinguish two different shapes and identify them, these two figures, identify them and determine if they are similar. So, before we can do that, we need to know these terms above. We need to know what a congruent figure is. We need to understand what a similar figures are. We need to understand corresponding sides. And last but not least, corresponding angles. Now, I want to build a background for you just in case you forgot everything that you learned prior to our meeting today. If the two figures are similar, what do we need to look at to determine if they are similar? I want you to kind of recall figures that you might have been exposed to or might have seen recently, that some have the same shape but not necessarily the same size. Similar figures, corresponding angles are congruent and corresponding sides are proportional. All that really means that corresponding angles have the same measure and that sides on one are just multiples of the other side. Now, remember, in order to determine that, we have to think about all of these definitions and keep that in mind. Well, if we want to determine if the two figures are similar, we need to check that all pairs of corresponding angles are congruent and all pairs of corresponding sides are proportional. So check if corresponding sides are proportional. We can check that the ratios of corresponding sides are the same if they are then proportional. Since we want to know about corresponding angles and corresponding sides, it might be helpful to first identify the corresponding sides and angles in the two figures. Now let's take a look. I want you to notice that these figures are already lined up. Take a look at that, and you can see that those are lined up, which makes it easier to identify the corresponding angles and the corresponding sides. But that isn't always the case. Sometimes one figure can be rotated around, and in that case, in order to identify the corresponding angles and sides, it's easiest to take a look at the biggest angle or the smallest angle in one figure, then match it up with the big and the smallest in the other. You can clearly see that this is the biggest shape as opposed to that one that is the smallest shape. So then you can rotate the figures so that they are matched up. Once you identify the corresponding angle, it makes it easier to identify the corresponding sides. So let's go ahead and identify the corresponding angles first. If we take a look, we can see that angle A and E, here's angle A, and here's angle E. So angle A and angle E are corresponding angles. So angle A and E are corresponding angles. I'll say it again. Next, we can see that angle B and angle F are corresponding angles. Here's angle B and here's angle F. You see how they're right there together? It's just that this is a larger shape as compared to that one. So those two are corresponding angles, B and F. Next, we can see that angle C and angle G are corresponding angles. Here's angle C. You see where it's located at. And here's angle G. You can clearly see where they match up side by side. So C and G are also corresponding angles. And lastly, we can see that angle D and angle H. Here is angle D and here is angle H. I hope everybody can see that. D and H are also corresponding angles. That way we have identified the corresponding angles And now we want to identify the corresponding sides. So here are my notes. You can clearly see everything that I just pointed to you. Corresponding angles. And then I'm going to do the sides. These are the sides over here on this side. These are the angles. I'll do it again. A and E. Here we go. A and E. They correspond. B and F. Here we go. B and F. C and G. C and G. I hope everybody can see that. They're right there together. They're exactly the same and in the same place. And then D, angle D, and angle H. Angle D, and then angle H. So those are the corresponding angles. I think everybody understands that. Corresponding angles. Now we're going to talk about the sides. Again, once you identify the corresponding angles, it's easier to identify the sides. Notice we know that angle A and angle E are corresponding angles, and angle B and angle F are also corresponding angles. That means that the sides in between these two angles must be a corresponding size. So side AD corresponds with EF. So here's AB, and it's going to correspond with EF. So here's AB, and it corresponds with E and F. Now, let me dig a little bit deeper in that to make sure you understand that. When I say that AB corresponds with EF, we're going to dig deeper and start looking at some of the other ones, and you can see that B and C, here is B, and here is C. There is B, and there is C. So B and C corresponds with what? F and G. B and C, F and G. B and C, F and G. Next, let's look at sides C and D. Here we go. C and D is going to correspond with what? G and H. C and D, G and H. So do you see now, do you have an idea of what I'm doing? Now we have identified the corresponding angles and the corresponding sides. And we need to check that corresponding angles are in fact congruent, and corresponding sides are proportional. So let's do that now. Well, that's what we need to check. We need to check if they are proportional. Okay? So I hope you understand what I mean when I say proportional. Now remember, in order for these two figures to be similar, all pairs of corresponding angles must be congruent. And all pairs of corresponding sides must be proportional. Their ratios must be the same. So let's go ahead and do that check now. So let's take a look at number 4. Now we're going to check it. Remember, corresponding angles, corresponding sides, and then we're going to check our work for accuracy. So notice my symbols there, that this means angle. This is how you read this. And this is right here. Who understands what this means right here? How do we read that? How do we read that? That should be a review for you. Hopefully you will remember how this is read. So all pairs of corresponding angles must be congruent, and all pairs of corresponding sides must be proportional, and their ratios must be the same. Here we go. So what we're going to do now, we're going to check the angles. Notice that angle A has 4 markings. Here's angle A. Then I'm going to go over here to angle A. Here are the markings. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope everybody sees that. I'm going to count them again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is the marking for angle A. Okay? It corresponds with angle E. Here is angle E. And it has 4 markings. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hopefully I'll slow down. Does everybody see that they both have 4 markings? Next, we can see that angle B has 3 markings. Here we go, angle B. Angle B. And it has 3 markings. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Angle B. Wait. Let me go back. Angle B has 3 markings. All right. So I did that deliberately to see, because that's one of those tricky ones where it corresponds, but this one is corresponding with F. There it is right there, the 3 markings. So I should have put those 3 markings right there. So now you can see that they're the same. So that was a little bit of an error there. So I'm going to take my marker here, and I'm going to put those 3 there. And you probably can see that. I hope everybody can see that. Okay. So now we see that they both have 3 markings, and it corresponds with angle F. So we can say that angle B is congruent, and this right here means it's congruent. Okay? So we can say that angle what? Angle B is congruent to angle F. Angle B, this means it's congruent. That's the congruent side, you guys. Angle B is congruent to angle F. I hope everybody understands that. I hope I'm not going too fast. Next, we can see that angle C has 2 markings. Here's angle C, and those are the 2 markings, 1, 2. And it corresponds with angle G. Angle G. And it has 2 markings. So angle G also has 2 markings. All right? So we can say that angle C is congruent to angle G. Angle C is congruent to angle G. Is everybody catching on, you guys? And lastly, angle D. Here is angle D. Angle D has 1 marking. So we're going to come over here to angle D. It only has 1. And angle H only has 1 marking. There it is right there. So we can say that angle D is congruent. Angle D is congruent to angle H. Now, we can take a look to see that all 4 pairs, 1, 2, 3, and 4, of corresponding angles are congruent. I'm going to say that again. All 4 pairs of corresponding angles are congruent. We need to check that all 4 pairs of corresponding sides now are proportionate. So first, let's take the ratio of side AB. Okay? Here we go right here. Side AB to side EF. AB, you may need to come up a little bit more. Those of you that can't see, please come closer. AB to EF. Remember, all the ratios must be the same. So every time we get a ratio, and I've already prepared it for you, but your ratios must be the same. And if we take the bigger figure on top, always make sure that your largest number is on the top. And where did I get these from? I got them from the figures. If you come over here and you look and you see AB, that is 7 centimeters long. Here's AB. It's already measured. It's 7 centimeters long. So I recorded 7 centimeters. EF, I came over here. E and F is 3.5 centimeters. So I recorded it to 3.5 centimeters. Does everybody see that? So AB has a length of 7 centimeters. And side EF, this means side. This line right here means side. So side EF has 3.5 centimeters. They both have units of centimeters, so they both cancel each other out, because this is a centimeter and this is a centimeter. And if we reduce the ratio 7 over 3.5, we can divide both by 3.5. You will have to do your math there, do your division, and that's going to give us a ratio of 2 over 1. Now, if you have a calculator at this point, you can actually do the division, and you will see that that's going to give us 2 over 1. So we may need to go back and review ratios, but that's how I got 2 over 1. Now, I'll kind of slow it down at this point. I can stop my recording, and we can always stop and kind of go back and review what we did, but I'm really hoping that you've got a good grasp of what I'm saying. So now let's look at a ratio of 2. That's going to give us a ratio of 2 over 1. Now, in order for the sides to be proportional, that's the terminology we have to use. So let's check the ratio of side BC. Here's BC, side BC. Here we go. B and C. What did we get? We got 8. Okay, it has 8 centimeters. There it is. So side FG has a length of 4 centimeters. Here's the 4, FG. And I put it right here. Hopefully you can see. I hope my cameraman is getting a little bit closer so you can see that. So side BC and side FG has a length of 4 centimeters. There it is right there. If we reduce that ratio by dividing both by 4, we're going to divide both of these by 4. Then they both have that same ratio, which would be 2 over 1, which would be 2. So let's go ahead and check side CD over GH. Now we're ready for this one. CD, GH. Here we go. CD is 2, GH is 1 centimeter. 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter. 2 over 1. Do my division. That's going to give me 2. Now, lastly, let's check side DA over AG. DA, side HE. Okay? DA over AG. That should have been, yeah, that's correct. AG. HE. Sorry about that. Okay. So make sure I got that correct. All right. So it has a length of 5 centimeters. So if we reduce the ratio, we also get 2 over 1. So let's take a look that all 4 ratios are the same. That means that they all have corresponding sides. And that is so important. So they have corresponding sides. They also are proportional. I'll say that again. If they have corresponding sides, they are also proportional. Since all corresponding angles were congruent and all corresponding sides were proportional, we can conclude that these two figures are in fact, this figure and this figure are similar. So ABCD is similar to figure E, F, G, and H. I'll say it again. ABCD is a similar figure to E, F, G, and H. So now we know how to determine if two figures are similar. I hope you enjoyed my lesson. Now, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go back and I want you to play this video again. And I want you to use the other videos that I have posted on Google Classroom as a more of a visual, and then complete your Google Slides or your Google homework. You will be working on this on an independent level, and when we return to class tomorrow, we will check this as a group. I really hope you enjoyed my lesson today. I hope you've learned all about similar sides. I hope you've learned about corresponding sides. And I hope you now realize how to determine if two figures are similar. Have a good one.